Welcome back to another edition of Talk Nerdy to Me. I am your host, Troy Segner. I have a comic book review for you, but before we get into that, I'm going to do a little pandering, man. Subscribe to the channel. Helps with the metrics a lot. Really appreciate it if you do that for us. Now, looky. Comic booky. You guys might have seen the trailer for the new Shang-Chi movie. Comic book right here. Shang-Chi #1. Subtitled Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. If you don't know about Shang-Chi, martial artist, of course, this starts right in, he's on a date with this girl. His sister, he's just taken over his father's criminal organization, and I'm going to put my eyes on it because I don't remember the exact name. I don't want to get it wrong. The family business keeps getting in the way. He took over the 5 Weapons Society. That's right. His dead father's organization, which was a criminal organization. And if you know about Shang-Chi, he's a good guy. So he is trying to right all the wrongs his dad did by taking out, the drugs and weapons and stuff that was a part of that. His sister keeps texting him during the date. She wants to take this guy out instead of just watching him. She just wants to, I can get more information if you let me stab him. And he's like, no. She's like, just his hand. She's like, no. Anyway, she gets tired of waiting. She grabs a dude and throws him up against the window where her brother was having his date. Pretty much ended the date as she ran off. They show you this. They explain it a little bit later. It looks like it looks like a root of some type. And you'll find out later on it is. The guy they take out, he's got these weird claws, man. Like really sharp claws on his hand. So they beat the crap out of him, take him down, and they're trying to get information out of him. And next thing you know, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man pops in. And he tells, they noticed there was a spider tracker on the back of the dude's shoe. So, Spider-Man says, hey, I was tracking him to take down this weapons organization. And they're like, well, we were tracking him to take down a drug organization. He's like, hey, let's work together. His sister, she's got an attitude. She doesn't care. She starts throwing knives. As Spider-Man, he stops him, of course, with his webs, and she tells him, ooh, your webbing feels like snot. So she starts calling him Snot Shooter, which he loves that. He doesn't. So they go together. They track it down to a traditional Chinese medicine place. Spider-Man and Shang-Chi are, checking out the perimeter, trying to make sure everything's good. The sister, man, she's just full bore, straight ahead, no subtlety. She just walks in, she's like, hey, I know this place is a front for drugs. And the guy's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then finally he comes clean. He's like, yep, yeah, it is. You're right. And he says, do you know the history of how this started? She's like, no. Supposedly he came across, as a young man in China, a Chinese Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call it. And I guess in Chinese they're called Yeren. And he takes it to his master, and they develop a Yeren root. I guess supplement. The Chinese are big on supplements and things like that. All kinds of different roots. So this one, I don't know how they made it out of the dead Chinese Sasquatch. And as he's explaining that to her, he raises his hand up and, oh, it's the claw just like that dude that they were beating up on the street had. And he calls himself, I guess they didn't think very long, but King Wildman wasn't an original name. So yeah, King Wildman takes his Yeren root and it turns him partial Yeti. And Spider-Man and Shang-Chi are trying to sneak in. Of course, Shang-Chi's asking him, hey, have you still been practicing the martial arts we created for you, the way of the spider? And Spider-Man's like, hey, yeah, I did until I got my powers back. I did that when I didn't have powers. I believe if you go back to Spider Island time, yeah, he kind of lost his spider sense and a lot of his powers, so he started learning that martial arts, and then he just kind of quit after a while. So he tells him, hey, if you keep practicing that, it will eventually help you with your spider sense and make it stronger. So I don't know if they're going to use that to give Spider-Man more powers later or not. They're apprehending the old dude. Old dude slaps a yarn root on the Spider-Man's face, turns him into multi-armed, reminiscent of the Spider-Man, multi-armed thing, but two of the arms are Yeti arms. They end up wrestling him down. They get him to stop. They pull the root off his face, and he recovers. He's a little weak, but he recovers. And the sister keeps calling him Brother Hand and Supreme Commander of the Five Weapons Society. And Spider-Man's like, hey, what's she talking about? He's like, oh, don't worry. He's like, the truth is, I've taken over my father's organization, the Five Weapons Society. So he gets all the warriors there. They take out all the yarn root. And he's getting ready to leave. And they have a big, like, shield helicarrier looking thing. As he's getting ready to leave, Spider-Man's like, hey, are you still on my side? Are you still good? And he's like, well, what does your spider sense tell you? And then he takes off. So I'm kind of digging it. I'm not too upset about it. King Wildman, it shows, in the prologue, epilogue, he's leaving, and some shadowy figure stops him and tells him, I have an offer for you, King Wildman. It doesn't tell who it is. But the next issue, it shows Shang-Chi fighting Cap. So we'll see. I kind of suggest, I love Spider-Man, I love the tie-in. I would suggest subscribing to this. It was really good. Put it on your pull list. Shang-Chi, #1. We'll see when #2 comes out if it's good. That was my review. And if you like that review and like to see more like it, subscribe to this channel. And while you're at it, bell icon. You'll be notified when we put up a new video. And until you see that new video, later, nerds.
Get nerdy with me. Tell me what game that you get on. Is it card or read? What kind of class do you play, girl? In an RPG.